Hello, welcome to Smileys. Tonight we're discussing Forge of Darkness by Stephen Erickson, Book 1 of the Arcana Trilogy. Tonight we're doing chapters 9 and 10. This is the spoiler-free and summary discussion. The summary and the spoiler-free discussion. Spoilers would otherwise include Malazan Book of the Fallen and the Nobles of the Malazan Empire, where applicable, and up to chapter 10 of Forge of Darkness. If you're joining for the first time, go back and watch the other episodes, please. Thank you. I'm joined by Maura. Hello, Maura.
Hi. How are you?
I'm pretty good. What about you?
I'm okay. I'm slightly intimidated because
Big
we
chapter.
have a lot of stuff today. Yeah. For some reason, I've chosen for chapter 9. So I think we should just start because it's a lot to cover. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, right. Where are we?
Where are
We
we?
are with...
I don't know. I don't remember where it starts off.
Oh, okay. We are with Orphantel. And we are riding along with the caravan guards people on the way to Karkanas. And they have to cross Tula Hold. And that's where they have a break because they have to, they have to pay the tolls or something. So Haral and his group stop there, but apparently Hishtula is not at home. Where is she? She has gone to Karkanas.
Riding Karkanas, yeah.
Probably she has reached by now. So they decide that they're
Provided she's
going
not
to
getting distracted by 3 hot dudes trying to defile their father's memory.
Please.
I'm sorry. Please
She was
continue.
least distracted. It was those guys who were distracted by her. So they stop there. There is a campground. They start pitching their tents and they start, setting up the camp. And because she's not home, they don't have to go and visit her. And Harald even says something like, it's a good thing that we don't have to make the climb to the Tula Hold because otherwise Orphantel's horse will not survive it. Right? And you know what he does? He puts a hand on its neck as if, in a protective manner. And because we finished the end of the chapter, we know that, this has some significance when we read it again. Right? So, and as they're getting settled, a wagon starts from the house. It comes to the camp. And who does it carry? It carries a young lady.
Oh, is it so cool?
Sukul Ankadu.
I don't remember the exact details.
No problem. I'll tell you. We get a description of this Tula Hold also at the same time. It's built into this rock formation, and Orphantel, he goes into a lot of wild daydreams in this whole chapter. So he imagines this place like, like what if he's kidnapped by bandits and then he overcomes them, then he conquers Tula Hold, and then he ends up losing it, and then blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on. So anyway, they meet Sukul Ankadu. Now she's highborn, but she's from a lesser house. And between lesser houses, they can exchange hostages. But between a lesser and a greater house, they can't. They only can send as a guest, right? These are very clear-cut class delineations.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's there as a guest. And do you know why she was sent there? To Hishtula by their mother? Because Sharinas apparently has a reputation. And they guess that the Sukul also might go into a wayward path. So they send her there under the care of... Sorry, what?
A wayward path, meaning she became a soldier and not like, I don't know, a wine merchant like Ganos.
Oh, no. I thought it was to keep her like not sleeping around or something. That's what I thought. No? Because that's the reputation Sharinas has. That's the one that Hishtula has given up. And, that's... Anyway. So... And Sukul is apparently as young as Orphantel, which I refuse to believe. No, I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. She is not 6 years old or 7 years old. She's just a very short 16-year-old. Okay, this has to be my headcanon. Otherwise, I can't read this book.
She's 16, but I definitely don't think she's 5.
She's not 5. She's not 6. She can't be a single-digit age.
She does say later that she's short for her age. And
yeah, so I'm going to take it as
are we going
very hot.
So yeah, I think she's like a bit like Rennick's age, maybe a bit older. I don't think she's 16. 16 might be a bit too old.
Fine, yeah, okay, fine. 14. Let's compromise. 14?
Sure, 14.
Okay. So anyway, she meets Orphantel, and then she tells him that you have good manners, and you probably didn't learn this from your grandmother, because Nereus does not honor Urusander's legion and all that. And anyway, they have their own separate cook fire. They have servants and all, because these are like highborn kids. She tells him that she's going to be an ally of his, and he says that when he grows up and becomes a great warrior, he wants people like Sukul next to him. Okay, so till then, till this thing happened, Orfantel has been thinking that he's one of these rough caravan soldier guys. He's one of the boys, and this is when he realizes that he's he's not. But he actually, it's nice that he starts thinking that what sets these classes apart, and he doesn't have a clue. Obviously, nobody has a clue. It's just there. So anyway, and then she asks about him. Tell me about yourself, and he has a well-rehearsed backstory, right? Immediately he throws it away and tells the truth that he's actually Nereus's grandson and Sandalat is his mother, and he tells the whole story. So, and he also tells her that he's going to Karkanas as hostage to Mother Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this makes her very surprised. Sukul is very surprised, and she's like, "Is like Mother Dark gathering hostages like as if it's a greater house?" And what will the other highborn think? And most importantly, will bloodlines be crossed? So, is this all there is to it, right? It's just people being classist. There's nothing more to be figured out here, right?
I mean, one thing I did notice is Sukul is drinking wine, which if she's 5 would be a very strange thing to do. So,
See, Orphantel is also drinking wine.
oh, is he really? Well, that's even
Yeah,
weirder.
they've been
God
served.
damn.
They've been served watered wine, and all the other
Who
guys have
serves
got
the watered
ale.
wine to, like, god damn.
Yeah. No, the others got the cheap ale. These guys got like wine. Classes, man. It's class difference. They can't drink water like. Yeah. So.
Of course not.
Yeah.
My bad, I'm sorry.
See, this is why you wouldn't fit in Thais society.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally the reason. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Sukul tells him that when he reaches Karkanas, people are not going to be, they'll not have enough time to take care of him or anything. So she tells him, seek out Hishtula. I'll give you a handwritten letter, take it and meet her, and she'll tell you what to do. And then they start talking about how it's not just blood that commands loyalty, even friendship can do the same. And that's exactly what she's trying to do. She's trying to forge friendship between all these highborn people and the Legion. But most officers don't want peace. Even her own sister probably doesn't want peace. So, yeah, and poor Orphantel, he
We,
says that.
we went over this last week, didn't we? With Tulas and Serenas?
Mm-hmm.
How.
What did she say?
Like, Tulas was saying, like, how he will side with peace. And Serena's like, well, doesn't everyone say that? Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
most people that say that think of violence.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, she's not 6. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he does say it was pretty clear that she was much older than him now. So, yeah, she's probably closer to like 12, 14.
Yeah.
We did say 14. I'm not going to concede 16 yet. Maybe she is 16. Maybe she's older than that.
No, fine. I'm fine with 14.
Okay.
No problem. Sorry. And anyway, she okay. And then he says that he wishes she was his sister or something. And she says, no, it's better we are friends. And then, yeah, and she also, sorry, wow, is that something to be laughed?
Is it foreshadowing if it already happened in the Book of the Fallen? Like, oh, it's better to be friends and sisters because I backstabbed both my sisters?
Yeah. Yeah, she does something. She does say that, yeah. So anyway, and then she tells him that whatever backstory he was given by Nereus, that to consider it as truth and never repeat this original story which he has told her, because of course the past is something which can always be emptied and refilled, right? So Orphantel goes along, but he's still slightly unhappy with this because he doesn't like lying. Lying is a type of betrayal, and
Yeah, he's not a betrayer.
He doesn't do betrayal. Yeah.
Oh.
Now, finally, where do we go from Tula Hold?
To the Citadel in Kirkanos.
Yes, and who's on top of the citadel?
Rise with Legil Behust. And Rise Arad is
Rise Herat
No?
is. It is, yeah, you're right. Now I was going to say it's one more dour historian, and we've had enough of those. So,
Oh, yes.
yeah, I don't know. There are no happy historians anywhere. So, anyway, there is Rise, and he is
What
taking
does that
care of
say about the series?
that. I don't know.
Hmm?
Do you have something
I
glib
mean,
to
no,
tell
it's like
me?
it's symbolic, no? That there's no like when like historians eventually grow tired of their own like art because nobody learns, nobody listens. That's what Galain's trying to tell us, no? That, like nobody listens, and look what happened to them.
Yeah. But there could be at least one historian who doesn't care, who just. There should be at least one.
Well, Heborg's kind of like that, no?
I mean, he's barely a historian, if you ask me. He
I
was
guess so.
he was imprisoned because he tried to be a true historian, and so
Yeah,
probably that's why he gave up.
yeah.
You should read that book one day. So anyway, Rise Herat is taking care of Legil Behest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And he tells her to look upon the city and blah blah, and she is almost, falling off the Merlin. And he says that the whole Karkanas city is like a monster or something which has washed ashore. And he specifically talks about a giant beak turtle that sometimes passes in the river. Do you know another turtle which you have been reading about in, I think, Midnight Tides or Reaper Scale? The Venic turtle. There's a whole chapter where the imagery is about
Right.
that
There's like
that
some
one particular.
eggs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like when maybe I got the name wrong because when Rautos is telling Venet to go and meet the truth finder guy, and he's little rude to him. In the background, you see one of the male turtles snatch and eat a whole bunch of nest
Right,
along with the
right,
eggs and all that. So
right,
it's a
right,
really
right.
fun chapter, and the turtles it runs throughout the whole chapter, and then at the end we see Tehol and Bug like eat those eggs or something. They know it's poisonous, and they use some herbs to like detox it, and then they eat it. Yeah, but anyway, it's almost the exact same description of that turtle. It's huge and it has, I mean, turtles are turtles, so I don't know how exactly, but it has beaks, right? So that's what he compares Karkara city. And it's, it's hissing at everything around it. And we also see that upon the south shore of the river, it's a completely polluted area with factories, leather factories, and where they grind bone into fertilizers and things like that. Yeah. So anyway, he calls himself and his that ward as the eyes of the city because they're on top of the head, and the head is actually the citadel. And being the city's eyes is important because only with sight there is release of imagination. And then this girl
Mm.
says that she can see everybody, and everyone looks so tiny from up top, and he calls them mites and ticks on the beast's body. So anyway, he keeps doing these comparisons, and then she says that at least
Cerebral.
Cerebral. He at least he makes sense when he takes classes, but you don't make sense. And then he says something like, "Oh, I forgot the narrow perch of a child's mind."
I mean,
in
like,
pra-
yeah. Just
in
on the one hand, it's
pragmatism,
very like what Rise is saying is very interesting symbolically, but on the other hand, it's like a 5-year-old is
it's a
saying it
child.
too, so
It's
it
not even a
doesn't matter.
5-year-old. I don't think it's 5 because Orphantel is a way mature 5. This is like a toddler 5. And then he says something like, "In pragmatism, there is comfort." Yes, this comes back when some other guy starts thinking about pragmatism a bit later. So
Hmm?
anyway, she goes off to play.
Kapla?
Yeah, your friend
Yeah,
Caplo.
yeah,
Yeah,
my friend. Yeah.
yeah, right. You should thank me that I'm not calling him your boyfriend because the number of times you bring up Caplo, it's yeah. So anyway, she goes off to play, and he comes back to uh, whatever that terrace or the place where he looks out, and he keeps thinking about how her education is so haphazard. Like she's just being passed on from one teacher to another because nobody really has the time, and it's all declining, right? The whole type society, nobody cares about educating children and all that. And anyway, that day he wanted to teach her history, but obviously he's failed. because her hearing, this is so relatable to me. It's like she listens to his words as if listening to a songbird in the background. There are only selective things that goes into her head, and the rest of it she just ignores. She doesn't care. You should try talking to toddlers on a daily basis, and this is like something which comes out. I don't know how much Erickson would have felt this when he was writing this.
I don't know, but I imagine it probably comes from a pretty personal place, but I haven't asked.
I mean, even if it didn't, to me, it is so. Oh my God, it's perfect. This is how it is. You might give your whole lecture and you might say all these things, and it doesn't matter. Oh, there is some mom just blabbering something. Who cares? Right. So anyway, he looks out to the city, and the light is muted because Mother Dark is grabbing all the light. And this is very interesting. As a historian, he doesn't enjoy this type of vista views. He prefers the broad strokes of a view should remain as such. There should not be any interest in details,
Yeah.
right? So, like a landscape painting, it should only promise there is depth and distance, but it should not have any depth or distance because details will clutter the mortal mind and it blinds you to broad sweeps of history. Yeah, yeah, please interrupt me.
So yeah, do you remember like what was like one of the first quotes from this book? Something about like details making up the full weft of the world and themes being nothing more than lists perfectly ordered,
Ordered
composite of lists perfectly ordered. Like
and perfectly rendered and all that. Yeah,
I think someone might be speaking through our friend Rise here.
maybe. Yeah, maybe. So anyway, he this and the audacity of this guy. This is the lesson he wanted to teach Legil that details will clutter your mind. But anyway, he
Yeah.
realizes that maybe she's too young, and then he also realizes that maybe age is not the factor here because so many other people in the citadel also have the same learning capacity as her. And then he sees that the whole citadel is actually in an uproar because some things have happened, right? And we know that. We'll get to that. But anyway, these are all his unspoken thoughts, his inner landscape, and blah blah. There's a lot of monologuing here, so I'm just going to skip them. And he also says something like he weaves his histories as if they were inventions, and he prefers broad washes of color rather than going into detail, and he prefers feelings over analysis. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, since we actually brought this up, Sukul ends her conversation with Orphantel by saying something about like invention, like filling the truth in you and like inventing new backstories, and you should know these people for the liars that they are. And then the first line Rice says is, "I am a great believer in inventions," and he's a
Yeah. Oh,
historian.
I did
A
not match that.
historian is a
Yeah, yeah.
great believer in invention.
No, actually, I was going over that because I was wondering why did this suddenly inventions come up? What was the point of this line? Yeah, now I get it. Thanks. So yeah, and because the city is so muted, he is wondering where the light has gone. When darkness comes, where does the light go? And since
Hmm.
Mother Dark is stealing the light, how will all the artists fare? Though all the priestesses have been saying that the darkness will bring its own gifts, but because it's sorcery, he knows that such gifts will not be free. Yeah, it's a lot of gift giving, right? Isn't that the name of the part one? Something about
Yeah, in these
gifts,
gifts, the shape of
adoration.
adoration,
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, he's joined
and
by,
then
yeah.
book three is the proofs of your ambition, which is also brought up by Galan in the prelude,
What is
that
book
you're
two then?
bereft. Book two, I don't remember. I remember book four is Fort of Darkness, and most of all of Light's books. I don't remember book two of this book. Carry on, I'm gonna look it up.
I'm looking up to
Oh,
the solitude of this something fire.
this fire, yeah, true.
Oh, right, right. Okay, let's shut up and let's keep moving. Yeah. So yeah, Cedrupul comes up, and along with him is a very young Endest Silan. So young, he's just an acolyte here. And Cedrupul tells him this is abdication of responsibilities because he sees that Legil is not there, and he responds, "That's the exact words which I wanted to tell you when you dropped her off to me." So anyway, they have news of Warlock Resh bringing Triss here, and so they have come upstairs to watch, to watch the north, to see the jungle line, so that they just want to see. And then they start talking something about decorum, and yeah, it's a bit weird because Cedropol is apparently preying on the priestess applicants, and then Endus says that he accuses him and he's accused back, and it doesn't matter. Finally, somebody asks, who said that hypocrisy has no place in a temple? And he says, literally, nobody
Nobody.
has said that.
Yeah.
This is perfect. So
Ill
anyway,
chosen my company this day. I am assailed by reverence. Cedarball bitching about reverence is like, yeah.
but Endest is so much fun here. Like, we only see him in Toll the Hounds, right? Being so
Where he's
old.
depressed. Yeah.
Yeah. All of them are like this. They all turn depressed after this book. So maybe we should just read here and then stop. Never go to Book of the Fallen. Right?
I can get
Because
behind this.
Sorry, what?
I can get
No.
behind this.
Okay, I didn't get you. So anyway, they wonder what Triss is. Like, is she an Azathanai? But she has come from the Vitr, but she's not of the Vitr. I think it keeps coming back again and again. So anyway, Legil is left alone. That's the ultimate. The TLDR you should take away from this is nobody cares about this girl because they just want to stand upstairs and watch. They just want to watch an empty field. Now, whom do we move to? One of your other
Emerald
friends.
Lanier.
Yeah, Emerald. She is a high priestess of dark, and for some reason she is looking at the mirror. She's looking at her own reflection. I don't know what symbolism that is. You brought up this before, but I have no idea what it is. So I guess I'll raffle.
She's gazing at the world through a mirror basically constantly. Like, it comes up again and again throughout the chapter,
It
how
does.
she looks at the world. And the mirror is slightly smudged, and she doesn't clean it up because she doesn't want to see the world like clearly. She wants to see her own illusions, right?
Okay.
And she brings up like the death of illusions and all of that, and then she looks at Sintara when she comes, and we're gonna get to
And
that.
wishes
But yeah,
that
Sintara, like, wishes she could erase it, and it's a lot because Emerald is old, and unlike Shintara, she doesn't look particularly appealing.
Once more, I show to you the Taist prejudice against wrinkles.
Yeah, they
Wrinkles
have
is
like
normal. Oh my
really
god,
very
they
absurd
hate.
beauty standards.
I know. I mean, imagine if somebody took Botox to that Taist society. They'll be mother dark.
Knowing the taste,
Yeah.
they would probably all contract botulism out of spite. Just like give one another botulism just all the time. So let's not do that.
Maybe there are some safer alternatives. No, you should just send a well-trained plastic surgeon with supplies, and he'll be like the god. Like Mother Dark will be left alone, and yeah.
How does one paint love? This is how. Look at me, Botox.
Yeah. So okay. So right. So this was Emerald Lanier. I don't know why I keep thinking linear, because nothing is linear here. So anyway, she wishes she could exchange places with her. Yeah, this whole chapter is quite messy. Did you notice that? Like, it starts with them thinking, and then it goes back to them doing stuff, and then it comes back to them thinking. It has been like this.
10 pages like of Capel's encounters about flashback of him while he rides through the forest, and he just thinks back to everything. It's a mess.
It is messy, yeah, but it's good. It's a nice chapter. So anyway, she is looking at her reflection, and she wishes she could exchange places with it, and so on. And
okay, yeah, sorry.
No.
If I do that every time, like Emerald makes a comment, we're gonna be here all day. So might as well.
I don't think I've gone into that detail.
Lot of what Emerald is saying is symbolic. The illusions bit, the mirror, how she treats Santara, how she, it's a lot. But we'll get to that.
Sure. So anyway, there are some priestesses behind her, all the lesser ones, and they're all fretting and gossiping and so on. And in her mind, she imagines them turning into like crows, sort of like crow-like things. But I would have imagined they would turn into like the Vaivals, right? Which would make more sense because they're Taist. They can't be great ravens because that's a different story. No, I'm completely off base. Doesn't matter. Now,
I think it's just like a metaphor for them being like they're crones, right? They're gossiping,
yeah, but it's
they're
not
doing
to do
anything
with.
useful.
I mean, it's not a nice image, so I didn't
No,
think of
obviously
that.
not. That's the point. The point is that it's not a nice image.
Yeah. So anyway, who comes in now? Enters Sintara.
Yep.
She is a young woman of power, like polished gold and dripping blood. And again, we are told that she has like pale skin, pallid hands, and
Mhm.
it comes up randomly
But
here and there.
before we go into Santara,
Now you can do your
symbolism. But before we get into that,
yeah.
note like the very last thing Emerald thinks before Santara enters the picture.
Oh my god, you've done a
Mirrors,
very
I
detailed
fear.
list. Yeah.
Mirrors, I fear, are an invitation to suicide.
What?
Emerald just needs a hug, dude, like really badly.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I don't think I read this chapter as closely as you done.
It's 3:55 on my end, if you're curious.
Yeah, I am curious. We can't have dead air like this. I don't have it.
No one's gonna see this, but it doesn't matter.
How
This is
can
the
you?
page.
Oh my god.
We're gonna cut this anyway. I'm
No,
orange.
sir. Who is going to cut this? I'm not going to cut this. So anyway, mirrors are an invitation to suicide. Doesn't matter. All happy things. So please, Sintara comes in, and you know what? What? My notes don't make any sense to me. Sorry. She comes in and she says, "Are you ready? We have to go." And this lady doesn't even bother replying. And okay, for some reason there is some history here. Shall I just go to the history part of it?
Yeah,
The
sure.
temple. Oh, actually, they start walking, I believe. Anyway, this temple, which has been
So
taken
they
over
walk,
by,
and Emerald thinks. Just parentheses. Emerald is thinking while this
I
is
think
going
that's
on.
later. I think that's a bit later. Right now, they're just talking.
Yeah, they're donking, and she thinks while they're donking.
Yeah,
So
no wonder. So anyway, she thinks that this temple, which right now Mother Dark has taken over, was originally the one for a river god. Okay,
hmm hmm
and this river god's name has been obliterated from all records. All she knows is that Dosandril was named after the spirit. So is that the spirit's name? I don't know. That used
presumably.
to live, maybe. So the Yan and Yedan cults are from that era of the river god worshipping era. But
hmm
Emerald thinks these are all hollow faiths because they have equated their suffering with faith. And then for some reason, Emerald and what?
I mean, just keep in mind. First of all, keep in mind the hypocrisy of a Princess of Mother Dark saying this, and also she fucking nailed it. So
But then they don't really give in to suffering, is it? The faith of darkness? They go the other
well,
way.
not suffering, but like the ritual of abnegation and all of that. Shedding
They
one's
are
own
hollow.
name
Yeah,
so they
yeah,
can
yeah.
be more. It's symbolic, but
Sure.
please continue.
Uh, the next thing is they have a lot of attitude towards each other. Like this one says, changes are coming, sister, and we must use it to our advantage. And Emerald says, no, no, we have to first survive these changes. And so they just hate each other, and it's I don't like this type of things. But anyway, Emerald thinks that what Kadaspala has drawn of Sintara actually shows how cruel she is, but Sintara is too dumb to notice. She probably thinks it's a great painting, and and once again we see people throwing shade at someone else for being old with wrinkles and
Yep.
so on. And she says that we are creating a religion here, and why are you resisting all this? And Emerald
From
says,
resistance comes truth.
which is the only thing that made complete sense to me. And anyway, Sintara, and she also asks about why didn't you let Hunral meet Mother Dark? And she says, no, no, I just delayed his appointment. I didn't want to meet him right away. And then she says that no, he came and he met Sintara, and so she knows the whole story of what's happened, like how Triss was found by the wardens, and when the wardens were escorting her to Karkanas, the Sheikh monks have intercepted, and they are bringing her to Karkanas. She knows the whole backstory of this. And then,
with obviously quite a few dozen of Conrad's embellishments.
yeah,
It
and
should be noted.
Emerald is quite amazing, actually.
Yes,
She
yes,
is.
yes,
So
she is.
she knows immediately that they're trying to what Hundal is trying to do is he's elevating the Azathanai as a threat, so that they can start mustering arms and and all that. And now they wonder, what will happen if a holy marriage is announced? How will the highborn and how will Draconis and everyone react? Emerald even says that. Did I say Emerald? In my mind, she's Emerald. So she says that even if
She's an
Draconis,
emerald dandy. Yeah,
she's a linear Emerald.
yeah.
So if
That's a cool name.
Draconis, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm interrupting you too much. Please carry on.
You should please. This is so much better than me just blabbering on. So Emerald says that even if this Draconis is sacrificed to appease the highborn, how long before they start resenting the legion commanders? They're not going to suddenly start accepting all these lowborns come into their houses and all that. So
Fucking finally, someone says it.
I mean, yeah. And the return of Urusandal will be like a drawn blade held above our heads. And would you dance for them? Is what Emerald says Sintara. This ideally shouldn't be an insult, except that Sintara used to be an alley dancer.
And a prostitute. Which, okay,
It's
we
yeah,
bring this up a lot later, and we've talked about this over privately, but the irony of a cult that elevates sacred prostitution, slut shaming people is absurd.
it is. It's beyond
Just
absurd.
saying.
It's
Like Emerald has
and
probably fucked her way up all the way to High Priestess, and she's like, "Oh, but you were an alley dancer once. Oh my, who gives a shit?"
no, that was unsanctioned. That was abusive.
Oh,
You
right,
can't
right,
accept victims of abuse. You can accept people who choose it.
right,
Makes like zero sense.
right, right.
So, and it's really, really sad. And the thing is, what is even worse? That this type of slut shaming actually affects her. Like, she
Of
can't
course it
just
does.
laugh at it and say, so what? Yeah, I used to do that. Big deal, get over it or something. It's not like that. Poor thing, it actually affects her. And it's so ingrained in that society, right? That this is not the norm.
It is also, like an insult upon Shindara's vanity, which is the other thing that defines her. Like she is beautiful and she knows it, and that's basically her whole personality at this point in time. You know, she is
Yeah.
vain, she is ambitious, she is hot stuff, and she doesn't have much time. She's making a religion. What the fuck are we waiting for? We have shit to do.
Yeah.
And then Emerald comes along and like, yeah, but keep it down, hot stuff.
So anyway, she says something like, "You've been hearing too much alley rumors." This is how
Yeah,
she gets back, and she says, "I know at least enough that Draconis's hatred is purely jealousy. People are just jealous of him." Oh, but
fucking
then,
finally.
and Sintara points out that no, but he has also doubled his house plate, so it's not just jealousy. People hate him because he is a threat. And she says, "No, if I was in his place, I would have done the same. Maybe it's best if Mother Dark just marries Draconis." Sintara is like extremely shocked, and she's like, "Oh, thank God, nobody's listening to you for advice." And then she has one more zinger about her wrinkles, and then the scene ends. And Emerald says that when she looks in the mirror, it's not herself that she looks at, and that's when the scene ends. Yeah, what?
Yeah, because the reflection in the mirror is an idealized form of Sister Emerald
Right.
symbolism.
I fine if you say so.
No, she doesn't mean. I guess you mean she looks at Sandara, but no, she means like
No,
when
no,
she
she
looks at
just
herself in the
means
mirror.
she looks at
Yeah,
this
she's not
other
like,
version of herself. It's not herself.
and she like
And
wishes to step into the mirror and stuff. Like all of this is like symbolic because there is some measure of self-loathing with Sister Emerald. She's too old for this shit. She feels cheated. There's no need for two high priestesses. Why is this like whore with me? Like why did she get elevated instead of me? Like, am I not enough? Am I not good enough? Like, what's up? And yeah. So just keep this in mind. Emerald's a fairly interesting character,
she is,
but
yeah.
as with most dice, she has certain traits which
No, for me, I thought the mirror thing was sort of like what Triss brings up next, where people confuse the symbol with the
yeah.
truth of
Oh
things.
wait, I mean,
Because that's what we were
It's
seeing
every
how did
cult in
Korea
Kurald
do.
Galain.
Like beyond that also, even with the crippled god, we see such things, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So now we meet your friends, Caplo
My
Dream and
friends,
Rish.
my boyfriend, and my other boyfriend, whom I rejected.
You are not Spinach in this story, I'm sorry to say.
How
Do you-
unfortunate.
Sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
go on. Please take a minute.
Caplo Dream and Rish are bringing Triss, and for some reason, Caplo is extremely sweaty and nervous, and Rish is very quiet. This is not their norm. And now we go back 3 days back and find out what happened. Caplo is actually thinking that he shouldn't have made an enemy of Farrer Hand. And so, you do know what is the next best thing to do once you make an enemy? It is to undermine her reputation. which, yeah, which makes sense, something or the other. So, even though she's like engaged to a hero of the realm, he decides
Mhm.
that this is what he's going to do because
Yeah.
politics is like a second skin to him. And we go back to the scene where Mother Shikanto, she can't. So that's why she's Shikanto. Sorry.
I think
So
the intended pronunciation is Shekanto, but
I don't care. I'm
I
saying she
always say
can't. She
Shakanto.
can't. I might even say Mother she can't and
Okay.
Triss, both of them talk.
Yeah,
And
Mother
do you know
Shikanto.
what?
She's like one of her cosine. She can't.
No,
That's
this is
a
like
shit joke. I'm sorry.
she can't, but Mother Dark she won't, isn't it? See,
Ooh.
see,
Ooh. Okay, that's a good one.
yeah. So, do you know what is the name of the place where we see Shikanto is? That place?
The womb in the old tongue.
Yeah,
Is it
because
the old tongue?
in some tongue, who cares? But the thing is, our temples are also named that way. The
Oh.
innermost sanctum is usually called, the word means womb actually, like womb house or something, where the god is placed. Like instead of an
Hmm.
altar, that's what we call it. You don't
No,
have
we
such
call it
things.
the holies, or like the sanctum or something like that.
Yeah, sanctum, the equivalent word in like Hindi, Tamil, and all would
Yeah,
be
sanctum in
womb.
Latin means sacred or holy. So here it's like
Just holy, but it's actually called
there is a
the womb is
discussion
the
to be
word.
had. Yeah, there is something to be had up here about discussions on like patriarchal societies versus matriarchal societies and which one changes and how depending on what, and how this shows
I
that how
it
religion
is
is morphed by gender roles. But we're not going to have it here because it's boring.
it's not boring. It's happening like right now, so I don't want to talk
It
about
is
it.
too. Yeah, I mean, religion is still a thing that's ongoing. Yes.
Yeah. The actual discussion to be had is like how Thai society is what we are living in right now. All this decadence, all this
Yeah.
is not 300,000 years old. It's now. That's basically what I'm finding as I'm reading, and it just feels so annoying to see all these things
I
like
know.
in
I know.
fantasy, and
Trust
it's
me. I know. I know. I know.
yeah.
Like I read this shit not to get frustrated with real life. Please, God damn it, please.
I know. But then
But yeah,
Erickson has told us that this is not escapist fantasy, right? He doesn't write
yeah.
escapist literature. That should be like a disclaimer somewhere on top of the book. Not escapist. Okay, enough digression. Let's get back to the scene where Mother Shikanto and Triss are talking. And, Mother Shikanto also notices that her name is Triss. So that means someone who has named her who knew the old tongue. Do we find out later what Triss means?
Born of a Vitter, or Born of the Sea, rather.
Born from water, something like that. No? Don't look up. Don't look up.
She says
Spoilers.
what her name is. No. She says what her name
It
is.
doesn't come up. Not in this chapter.
I mean, what? No, like when she asks for a name, she translates the name for you. She says, "I am come from the sea,"
Oh, that is a
or "come from,"
translation. Okay,
supposedly.
let's look up later. We have wasted enough time. It's like okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So she asks her, "Will you be our guest?" And Tris tells her, "This light is pretty, but the fountain is dry. It doesn't have a feel. For a mother's temple, it's very
Yeah.
unmother-like and all."
For a womb, it's very dry.
Yeah. And she says, "You get lost, go to Mother Dark," and says, "No, no, I'll be here." But your faith is empty because your God is dead. You have chained and harnessed its power so much that you have killed your God. Oh no, do
Hold the
not.
fuck
I
up,
can
woman, Jesus.
I can see you get excited about that.
I mean, Tristan goes from like 0, like this light's pretty, to 100, like your faith is empty and
Kill
you've
your
killed
God.
your god. What the fuck?
Yeah. And for some reason, Mother Shikanto asks her, like, your Azathanai are usually known for tact. And she says, no, no, she breaks down even tact and says that is just amused condescension. Does it make you feel better? But you are dying. There's nothing to sustain you.
Of
But
course I'm dying.
I'm going to go and take bath in the fountain. And off she goes. Right? And that's when Caplo and Shikanto talk. This is very, very fun. She tells him that, the next time they go raiding and try to recruit people to their monastery, she tells him that they have to go in darkness, sneak in, kill the mothers first because they need the children for their order.
Yeah. And
Right? And then,
before we get into like anywhere, Tris speaks basically only in metaphors except when she's trying to make a point.
yeah,
And she
yeah,
comes here and says like this is wool, like the rug she's on right now is wool.
yeah.
And it's made from sheep, which I don't know, adolescent sheep, because you either kill the very young or the very old. The very
Okay.
old are like disgusting and not very tasty, but the young are very succulent. So you guys go on to take the young and recruit them into your cause. And then
Yeah.
she like leaves and look up like, mother, we couldn't take the young. You couldn't do what? Next time go with employ stealthing one night and kidnap them. Like what the fuck?
Yeah. I know.
Okay. Jeez. Jeez.
So anyway, then she tells him that Caplo has to accompany Triss when she goes to see Mother Dark, and the point is to assassinate Triss. Like
Oh yeah, by the
it's
way, Cap was
it's
an
so
assassin.
dumb. Yeah. Oh, we find out that, yeah. So anyway,
This is
that's
why
his
people don't
job.
like him.
But he's an anemic assassin. So the point is
Yeah.
that he should at least attempt to assassinate her, and if possible, better he dies in the process. This will ensure that Mother Dark is assured of Sheikh loyalty. And second,
Mhm.
it will absolve them of any consequences because they are the ones who are taking Triss to meet her. Right? It's so.
Which, by the way, Resh more or less told us last chapter that like this is a really shitty idea. Like chapter 7, not
Yeah.
last chapter. That
Okay.
on the one hand, I want to take Trish to the Citadel to see what shit goes down, but if she gets out of hand, we're fucked. And
Okay.
so Shikanto tells Capel like, "Well, you fucked this up. You're the reason we're here. So I'm going to shed your blood as a proof of Sheikh
I don't
loyalty."
think it was like pointedly him. It was just that because he's there,
Yeah, yeah.
they just
I
want
mean,
to
it's not
ensure that
punishment.
Sheikh.
He's just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only person capable of actually doing it.
yeah. And he doesn't object or anything. He's quite okay with the idea. So, and something they talk about how Mother Dark has only darkness to defend her, especially
Mhm.
because the Giga Chat has gone west. So
Yeah.
then Caplo asks, maybe let me at least try to kill her here itself. I don't want to go there because Rake will be there and Silka's ruin will be there. But she doesn't care. Mother Shikanto just tells him that there are some more work, and then she tells him some secret things to do, which we don't find out in this chapter. So outside, what is Triss doing? Once again, she's swimming in the fountain. And
Mhm.
this, because I have to summarize this. Just listen. I don't care how much you understand. Okay. Caplo admires because he's not a child and only children will gawk at swimming women. And Caplo says that some lessons will be repeated. Rush says, but those lessons will not be learned. This is a time to write a new treatise. And Caplo says, the critics will eat you up. And Rush says, I don't care. And something that the talk turns to how betrayal begins and ends with words. And maybe Mother Dark should have been Mother Silence, and then there would be peace. But he asks, you know,
You know what I'm gonna do.
that
Yeah,
is,
okay.
yeah, thanks. So then Capello says, then does it mean that is violence always a form of betrayal? Resh says, yeah. Like even a hawk which is trying to eat a hare, or if or swift which is trying to catch a fly, or anything. All these acts of violence, is this also a type of betrayal? And he says yes, and Capello says, then we are all doomed because do
Yeah,
we
we're all
have to
betrayers.
betray just to survive? Yeah,
Hmm.
I didn't get you.
Yeah, no, that's all. We are all betrayers.
Yeah. And then that's why philosophers drink. And he says, no, no, they drink because they are weak of will. And he says, no,
And
because their
lo,
will has been
I
assaulted
am the
by.
only one. Yeah, I am the only one who's capable enough to admit it.
Yeah. So, and he says that's because their will has been assaulted by revelations like this. And he says, not all revelations are an assault. Keep in mind, this exact same line comes back, like hardly a few pages down. And then Tris meets him and says that, oh, it's a good thing your mother has advised you against murdering me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just a little aside. It so very quick TLDR. The dominant driving force behind philosophy until like the Enlightenment, 18th century in Europe was faith, right?
Okay.
And then when they turned away from faith, they turned to reason. And so it's very ironic, in my opinion, that Kapleau says that Resh's reason is weak when the Sheikh have killed their god inadvertently. So they have nothing. Like they talk about philosophers, well, they have nothing to stand on, no roots to stand on. They're
Okay.
lost, and we see that, like in the beginning of the chapter, in the page, where they're writing in silence, and like, okay, they're fucked, right? They're lost, and Shakando's telling them, okay, you are going to go kill yourself so we can prove to Mother Dark that we're loyal to her.
Yeah.
Because we have nothing else to do, because no god sustains us. That's all.
Nice.
So please
Nice.
carry on.
Yeah, yeah. So Tris says that she knows that mother has been advising him not to kill her. And he says that, he doesn't mean any harm to her personally. There's nothing personal.
Murder is unseemly, like murder always is unseemly.
And he would only try to protect his own. And she knows this is a very ambiguous thing to say. And as a killer, he will be given reasons, but he will also
Does that
privately. Yeah,
does
I know
that
it's a
comment refer to
favorite.
me personally or people in general? I do
Yeah,
not know sufficient people to comment on them.
yeah,
I believe you are a killer, and that you are both given reasons for the necessity and assemble in private more of your own, bolstering such justifications as needed.
nice.
And she just just destroys Kaplo Resh and Kaplo and Resh in
Now,
like
all of a sudden,
whatever.
Resh starts feeling some kind of
Ill.
reaction. He
Yeah.
feels some strong power. And then they find out that the river god is no longer dead. And now these people have to give answer to their god. And obviously Kaplo doesn't feel anything. And he asks Resh, what are you feeling? And all he can reply is rage. Like it's the river god's rage, isn't it? So
Hmm?
now the whole monastery is turned upside down. Shikanto is bedridden. Sisters are dying. At Yedan Monastery, it seems the water in the great well has started boiling. Yes?
I swear, I'm gonna stop it.
Yeah.
There is a quote that goes like, "The hawk betrays the hare, the swift betrays the fly. God
Okay.
was chained to our will, and God now rages."
Oh, nice.
So
Nice quote.
Kaplo, realizes the words Resh said. But what I want to bring up is a quote from Kamensod in The Crippled God,
Mm-hmm.
where he does not say God now rages. God looks into your eyes, and God cringes.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell me which one is more savage.
Camel sword is the OG. So
Yeah.
now anyway, um, okay, all this is happening, and then on the third day, Triss gets ready to leave, and Warlock Rish is about to stay back, but she tells him, "No, no, you have to join me because I have something to show you, which will
Mhm.
begin in the forest, in the river, and so on." And she tells them that what she brings Mother Dark is change, and whether to accept this or resist it is her choice. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, she brings change, but very literally, because she has a vessel full of bitter with her,
I mean,
which she places into the chamber. So yeah, she brings change, but very literally.
okay, okay, fine, yeah. So anyway, she says that she has understood the nature of water. Like in peace, water runs clear. All the big quotes are in this chapter with Triss. So
Yeah,
this is an amazing chapter. And whenever
something
the
about
water,
water running clear. Something about the sea not dreaming of you.
yeah, yeah. And she says that her job is to go stir the waters when she meets Mother Dark. And what does
Mm-hmm.
she give them? She brings them chaos. Now, you can ask me what type of chaos? Is it like just chaos or capital C chaos or all caps chaos? Because I can't say. It she could mean anything. So,
It's a Chaos AD by Sepultura. Yeah.
oh,
Oh god, never mind. That was a shit joke. I'm sorry. Please continue.
I didn't get it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a song slash album by a band. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. So anyway, Caplo,
Yeah.
he doesn't feel. You wanted to continue
No,
making more
Yeah.
jokes?
I've made way too many already. Please continue.
I think we should just call it a day after this one chapter. I still have like a quarter left. So anyway, Caplo doesn't have any sensitivity because as a child he had knelt before pragmatism. Imagination is a dangerous thing to him. So as they ride through this woodland, he starts feeling a chill, even though he doesn't have any powers. There is no awakening. They just pass through some shadowy areas, and he does not know what lives beyond the trail. And Resh says something like, "These forest people are the really truly free ones, not the newly turned away ones, but the original untamed people, of which maybe 100 is left. But who knows? And
Because we
knowing too
killed them
much,
all.
and knowing too much will lose the mystery." That's your
Humility.
favorite quote. Go on, go on. There
Okay.
is value in.
So yeah. He says there's value in not knowing, and that
Caplo asks.
roll that thick. There is no value in not knowing. Roll that thick hide of yours, Resh, and shake free of this nonsense. The value of not knowing. What value? You have no answer, and so you conclude that none exists. And there, in your reaction, oh pallid wretch, lies the lesson.
Yeah.
Riddles now. You know how much I dislike riddles. Yeah, with it then. Tell me what I lack. What is gained in not knowing?
Yeah.
Humility, you fool.
Yeah. And I think
But
Triss
less
also.
British and, and more, deranged, and my God is alive and I'm dying. But just pretend.
At Triss also it comes back to the same thing, that the only thing worthy of worship is humility itself, right? Because they have confused symbols with
Honestly,
meanings.
you can take this entire passage and just put it on a wall, and you have all of Kirkanos' storyline with Mother Dark distilled into one. Like every faith that comes up from here, Birth of Light, Father Light, Mother Dark, anything, this entire chapter. This entire, not even the chapter, just this passage,
Yeah,
put
yeah.
it on a wall, you're done. That's it. Distilled essence of the entire book here.
Yeah. So, do you want me to tell more about it, or I think
Please
it's
go
better
on.
we
Yeah,
just.
I'm just going to gush over it. Let's continue.
No, I don't have much. It is just about they carve symbols of waves, and then give it 1,000 face. Was it here or was it later? I don't know where that is. So anyway, in ritual they have abased themselves, but it is just become rote now. But the god doesn't know what to do with all this. All the god wants is comprehension of the meaning of its own existence. And so, what does our god want is what Rish wants to know. And Trish has a sweet answer. Dear child, he wants you to be free. Okay? So
Mhm.
now as they keep riding, Kepler thinks to himself, he doesn't welcome revelations.
Really? Couple of things while he rides.
Yeah. And
But yeah.
but he can understand, even his mind can understand what exactly she means. And there is this old poem. Teist poems are fun because it's just like 4 words. It says, in
And
tears.
often it's Galain self-inserts.
No, this one is not. That's
This
why
one
I'm
isn't, but
pointedly.
generally speaking, yeah.
Yeah. So this one is just, it says, in tears, water runs free. And for finally, they reach the edge of the forest. And then we can cut to Emerald and Sintara walking through the citadel to the old temple where, the structure is such that it looks like an eye inside a socket. And as they're walking, suddenly they're hit with icy water. And Emerald thinks the eye, oh God, Emerald thinks the eye is open. And Sintara is the dense one. So she thinks, no, it's the Azathanai has done something. And Emerald sends, she stops the procession, sends all the other priestesses back. And who walks in like a boy band? The three of them.
The Fury Brothers.
It's like an emo boy band. The three of them walk in, and then they say, "What's going on? The river is flooding," and so on. And all Emerald says, is it's the Sheikh. The Sheikh are bringing Triss, and this much information is enough. This kind of writing is what I really like because immediately Rake understands what's going on. Silkus thinks maybe they want a faith war, and then he also understands what's going on, and between them, they figure out pretty much everything. Like Skelinal is riding to meet Shekanto. So now they have to, in future, they are going to have to look at Warlock Resh and Witch Ruvera for the future. And
Hmm.
with Resh, Caplo is also coming. So Rake is hesitant to kill someone at Mother Dark's feet. He doesn't want to spill blood there. And Sintara doesn't understand, obviously. So she's getting quite impatient.
Yeah, like it should be like you mentioned the writing, but it's the names alone, like Warlock Resh and Capital Dream are coming, and that's enough for the three of them to conclude that okay, Shakanto is
Yeah.
scared shitless, and Trace is going to die.
Yeah. We should not share her panic. This is what they finally decide. But
Yeah.
anyway, because Sintara is doesn't understand, instead of being nice and explaining things to her because she's so junior, Rake is an asshole to her, and he says stuff like your height, it's and dampness, and it is pretty disgusting. And he even tells her to read Galan's Trophies of Youth. Apparently, what what kind of throwing shade is that? Go read this poetry book. This I'm throwing shade by referring you to books and something, and that is nice because even this poem, apparently the words fade by the end of the page or something. So Sintara goes in to talk to Mother Dark. The two brothers go off to meet Prazek and Dethanor, and they also
Dathanar.
want to, yeah. And Silkus even mentions that he might meet Kelaris, who has returned from Hust. Just hearing this, Emerald knows what's going on. I really enjoy such things, because she just hears the names and knows, okay, so the Son of Darkness is getting a Hust sword. What is this going to
Yeah, and if like a cry of Hostblade resounds, we're
Hust
all
Iron?
fucked.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so TLDR is Rake Slutshame Sintara. Poor thing
Yeah,
again.
and it's a glorious quote. I'm
It is
sorry,
not. It is not a glorious one. I mean,
it's amazing.
fine, fine. You want to tell us?
Yeah. Yeah. I shall surrender all decorum out here in the corridor by all means. I shall remain out here in the. I shall remain above such awkwardness, since it seems that I alone understand the position of High Priestess. And then he counters with, "Would that be on your knees, Sindara?" And then he just storms off without a word. It's just
I've told you this before, but of all the people, Rake, the one who has never,
yeah,
at least Spinach we know has refused somebody. He has refused at least one person. Rake canonically has not refused anyone. He's
right.
been with
Canonically, that's
him,
fuck the dragon, and he
but
just slat
he's
shamed somebody.
exactly like, come on, not, he's the last person who should go around saying on your knees and blah blah. My God, his knees must be chafed by now, and he has no right telling about some. And Sintara is a child sex victim. Poor thing. There, right? Enough. Uh, so the river is flooding, and it was once known for seasonal floods. It was started. You can't follow along line by line because after this, I sort of went haphazard. So it started overflowing into the streets, and but at the same time, the river is also withdrawing. Why? Because Mother Dark's power is able to like hold back the river. This impresses Triss, and her temple has been taken over by the gods. So she wants Mother Dark to understand that to bind is to weaken, to hold is to make vulnerable, and the temple, yes,
Draconis.
and the temple is a focal point for worship, and that's when the skin is thinnest. Yes, yes.
Draconis. Okay, no, I'm sorry. To bind is to weaken. Draconis. Took you what, like 120,000 years to figure that out? Dumbass?
Okay, it's
Could
getting
have just
really
asked.
late. Stop. So they know that the temple which Mother Dark is staying in now, it is not yet sanctified. And then we find out Tai's royal history. One second.
Yeah. So, since we were going on about Tai's history, and Mora's voice is giving in a little bit, so we're gonna do it TLDR. Basically, a few years, decades, centuries. I don't know if it's specified. I'm going to guess a few
We
decades.
don't know. I'm decades, yeah.
A few decades ago, there was a big battle, presumably with either the Forulkin or something before then, upon which the consort slash husband of the last queen of Kurald Galain had been slain in battle. And then the queen went forth to go and find the body of her husband, but was slain in battle. Her body was never found, but her husband's body was. And she was half sister to Mother Dark, but she was ineligible to rule. And there were plans to make exceptions, but then someone came along and fucked that up. But Triss basically guesses. I don't know how the fuck she guesses this. I'm orange. I don't know how the fuck she guesses this exactly, but she extrapolates from this little information by asking Caplo, "You don't seem to be lying to me. You openly dislike me, but you will answer my questions truthfully. Your higher graces are the royal line." And Caplo says, "Yes. Yes, the siblings of the deceased queen are Father Skeletal and Mother Shikanto. And despite being siblings, they are life-bound. They're married in the Sheikh manner, which we know from previous conversations with Harrer and the like, that they are not exactly being married in the traditional way. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. Basically, Resh asked Kaplo, like, "Are you fucking, like, are you sure? Like, should we be talking about? Should she know? Why should she know? Why does she need to know this?" And yeah, we just basically learned that Diced royalty makes absolutely no sense because they are a theocracy and they should not have lowborn and highborn when there's no royalty to speak of. But whatever, classism is classism,
Yeah.
So.
So, and for some reason, they say something like, by love aggrieved, she cast the realm into chaos. Who? Who cast the realm into
The
chaos
queen,
for love?
the queen, because she lost her husband.
Ghost. Just the queen? It's a lesson. It's a history lesson. Yeah.
I mean,
let's go on. Let's go on.
You know.
So, Cerebral and company are watching from above. God, what is it? I can't hear it.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything because it might be spoilers. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, the river has risen to cleanse her path. It's this whole thing. I really love it. Triss walking through
Faith
the
can
streets.
survive a little water.
Yeah.
Cedar Pool like gloriously misses the point, and the symbol is like, yeah, whatever, just a little bit of water. Who cares?
Yeah. And then Riserat says that, now there could be contest for the temple because the river god is back. Like even Warlock Rish will be able to claim it. Rise also thinks that Mother Dark is not the one at threat here because only in opposition do you find definitions for some things. Like darkness is itself a difficult thing to worship.
Okay.
So
that, by the way, is a philosophical concept dating back to Hinduism and Buddhism.
What?
This,
Okay.
This definition and opposition of like different things are defined in opposition to one another, and everything's in flux and impermanent.
Mm-hmm.
So darkness and light, it's a whole thing because but basically you will find this exact concept of forces being defined by being opposite to one another. Like light is the absence of darkness, and darkness is the absence of light.
Yeah.
So you will find this in religion all over the world, from Hinduism and Buddhism to ancient Greek philosophy.
Okay, I'm going to look it up, but probably
basically, it's a way to describe impermanence and how things are constantly in flux and changing. Because no?
I'm not familiar. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, basically, this is an important thing to mention, that forces are defined in opposition.
Right. Okay. Okay. Fine. Right. So now, okay, and they also talk about history of the river god. That there was some rejection. Was it due to guilt? Like the god was dying, and so
that displeases me on countless levels, Acolyte.
and then he storms
again
off.
misses the point gloriously.
Yeah. And then he goes off with, he takes Endest and goes off. So now Emerald is waiting and she's thinking about how Mother Dark used to. I missed a quote.
No. It's like basically they like Enda suggests that they defaced the god, like the iconography of the god, because they were guilty and feeling guilty for killing him. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's like interesting to mention that the faith died and was defeated and like died off because the followers realized that in worshipping they killed their own god. And we've seen this before in other books, like Grey Frog, for instance, was the first person to mention this actually. Where it's
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
silent god who
yeah. That's a
died
nice,
like with the
nice
first drop
story.
of blood. Like this is the exact same thing. People killing their dating, killing both metaphorically and literally in this case, by doing such acts. And okay, I'm not going to get into the philosophy of this, but just all of these are like this entire chapter is just Corcanas distilled into one chapter, and I just have so much to say about it. I'm sorry.
Why didn't you just take this chapter then? Obviously,
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
going this.
I don't know.
So
Yeah, please
anyway,
carry on.
she's thinking about how Mother Dark used to be this idealistic, romantic woman, and traditionally it's hard lives which forge hard laws. But the Tais have always had easy lives, so they have easy laws. Except this war happened, and everything has changed now. And then Triss walks in, glowing and warm. Ice starts cracking, the walls start groaning. And to Mandy, she tells him, Night is going to claim your skin, but I will make visible your defiance. And he says, Azathanai, I ask no gifts, I'd have no defiance and
I
all
offer
that.
no defiance. Yeah, and okay, you're gonna bring this up later, but I just want to point out that it took me like 3 reads of the chapter and like to think about it actively to realize that the silver skin, the
Mhm.
silver sheen of his hair is his defiance. I'm just fucking stupid.
That was my first read thing. Yeah,
Like,
I'm so
okay,
happy.
I'm just not very observant. It seems. Please continue.
Because
Just
that was
wanted to
the
bring
one
that
thing
up.
I was very fixated on, that when it describes his skin as pale gold, I was waiting for when this transformation would happen. And
Hmm.
then it's nice, it's fun. Because
Yeah, it's cool. It's
I
a neat
remember
detail.
he's always fighting with people here or
Yeah, there's a
slut-shaming
reason
people.
for his Pantene hair. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's really nice, isn't it? He must have just like Steve must have created the character as, oh, it'll be cool to have black skin and white hair, and it's so amazing looking. And then they come up with a whole backstory, right? So then she tells Emerald, your sorrow is lonely. You have secret roots, but do not give voice to them. And Emerald says you're being too presumptuous. And Triss says something which I really like. She says something like, I can't help who I am. She has after all come here to stir the waters.
I wonder why you like that.
Yeah, it's
Gee,
a big mystery. Yeah.
why could it be?
And then she says that the Thais think of the witch as an enemy, but actually, the sea does not dream of you. And then she walks in, Resh goes behind her. Yeah. And Ray does not allow Caplo to go in. He grabs him and gives him a shake and
He just
says
does,
that,
he doesn't allow him to go in. He fucking grabs the guy by the shirt, pulls him up, puts him against the wall. Like, no, motherfucker, you're not going in.
oh, you turned orange. Yeah. And then he says that if ever you come back here, I'm going to spike you to the wall myself or something. And then they go in. By that time, the meeting is over, and Sintara runs out. She looks as pale as alabaster, and her face is twisted in pain or something. And she says, I have chosen my gift, and runs away. Nobody knows what's going on. Oh my God. Then Resh then says that time has probably twisted in the chapter, in the chamber. He does not know how long Triss and Mother Dark have spoken, but all he knows is that Triss had got wit inside, and now the temple is sanctified. Even Mother Dark has turned dark. Finally, roll credit, and she tells him that Emerald is now the high priestess. She's the only one.
Darkness has been forged. Roll credits.
Ah, yeah, finished. We're done. And now there is a new uh, chasm in their faith. So the
Hmm.
waters have to part, and this has to happen. The wound has to happen so that it may heal. Now Rake wants to know what has happened because he wants to deal with it. He is an action doer, and he says, "I'm going to defend what I believe in." And he says, "But what is worthy of your belief?" That's all. That is ever the question or something. And they all have night vision and everything. And then Mother Dark looks at his white hair and says, "I could tell you about your mother." But he says, I'm not interested. I have no love for this woman who I don't remember. Unlike Harathan, poor fellow, who doesn't remember, but still,
And has that not made you curious?
Why? Should
No,
it?
I mean
Why?
that's what Mother Dark says. Like,
That's what
I
she
don't
says,
remember
but
my
it
mother,
doesn't make me
but shouldn't
curious.
it make you curious as to why you don't remember your mother?
So anyway, she says the sheikh or deniers are not your enemy. And he says, then name your enemy. Who is your enemy? And she says, none. Just maintain peace. Don't draw a
You know,
sword.
win the speech for me, but don't throw a sword.
Yeah. It's She even tells them out loud what she wants. And Anamandareg is a hothead. He leaves, and then Mother Ducks tells
Okay,
Emerald.
I'm going to break character and say that yeah, do be fair to
To be
Mandy.
fair, yeah,
She is being a bit cryptic, but no, Mandy's an idiot. Let's screw
she
this guy.
is not.
She told you outright what she wants. Come on.
She is the goddess. She is telling you, these are not my enemy. All I want is peace. Don't go around killing people because that's not the way you're going to get peace. What does he do? He goes and orders swords.
Hold that thought what you just said because I'm gonna bring it up in the next bit because I find it unintentionally hilarious.
Okay, all right. Oh, these two, Hunral and Sintara's section. Is that what you want
No,
to?
no, 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 no. Like in the discussion when we have full spoilers.
Okay, fine, okay. Oh my god, we've been going for so long. I think we'll have to do it another day, right? He leaves, and then what happens? Mother Dark and Emerald have this very silly conversation. She says that I once asked Kataspala how to paint love, and he said he doesn't know. But this one I really liked. And then Mother Dark says something like, "When you can start seeing in darkness, nothing is hidden except darkness itself." Right? That's one thing you can't see, which is it's nice. It's a nice thing to say. Now,
It's
this whole other section I've condensed into like 4 lines. So
yeah.
just bear
It's
with
I
me.
mean the TLDR is Honoral is drunk.
It's a
Tara
fun
comes in.
scene. Yeah. So Hunral and Sintara, they have a
She
conversation. They're
slaps him.
both slightly drunk, and they start establishing rules for the Leosan faction
But she's
because
not slightly drunk. Honoral is half drunk. Shantara comes in, guzzles down an entire pitcher of ale in like 3 gulps, and then she's drunk. It's
no,
an
but then
important
she's not
difference.
really drunk. She plays being drunk to get his confidence. That's what I thought. So anyway, she has the light within her, and she has been cast out of night, and she has come here asking for his sanctuary. He figures out that she was not cast out, she just ran out of because of shame. And then they both figure out that light and dark needs to be in balance. So she will name, I'll just finish this,
Okay, you
please.
just said that she just he says she fled in shame, and yeah, but before that, she slaps him in the face.
Oh, that also happens. Yeah, that happens in between. She slaps him. And then they decide that she's going to name Urusander as Father Light, and they're going to say things like darkness is ignorance and light is justice. Now that is a
Semantic.
very Hindu thought.
Yeah,
Darkness is ignorance and light is knowledge. So that's what we do. That's why we pray fire and all that.
they're defined in opposition.
I
Darkness is the
don't know
absence
your
of light.
definitions,
So,
but we use
like
light to pray. that's
yeah,
that's the whole thing. Okay. And then they
but
start defining.
ignorance is the absence of knowledge, right? That's what I mean. Like that's
Do you know what time it is here?
sorry.
Yeah.
Please carry on.
So, sorry, yeah. And because they have called themselves the Leosan, they have to define their enemies. Who are their enemies? All non-Leosan. So Draconis is their big enemy. All the deniers, both the monasteries, all of them are their enemies because all they're trying to do is protect Mother Dark. She says something like, "You're going to plunge the realm into civil war," and he says, "No, no, we are going to prevent it."
We're not going to
After they do
prevent it.
everything to instigate it, they're going to prevent the civil war. So that's the whole idea of what they're going to do. And then he agrees to send her to Rusander along with a safe escort. She will be hooded and stuff. And now the last section. Do you have anything more to add in Sintara and And
Yeah, that Hunral has sent agents that are basically
oh yeah,
going
oh yeah,
to
yeah,
instigate civil war, and they just said, like, "Oh fuck, we shouldn't do this, but it might be too late. Well, get the fuck up and make sure that it isn't too late." And guess what happens? Right, the next scene.
yeah. So that's what happens. So Orphantel and company are riding somewhere, and they notice that a small troop passes them. He notices their uniform. They're all wearing Legion uniform, and Grip is sitting with his head bowed as if he's praying to something. He's basically hiding because he's an old and
It
known
should be
veteran.
said that
Yeah.
for context, why they're so surprised. Tula Holt and Neritsor are like 2 weeks apart by horse. They're like
Oh,
really far away, and there should be no legionaries here.
and that's what it's a disbanded group which has again taken arms. That's what stands out to them. It's a disbanded one. So anyway,
Mhm.
immediately Grip understands the situation. He tells Orphantel to run, just take the horse and keep running, because the group, after a point, they notice that they have been noticed and they turn back. And Orphantel just keeps running, poor fellow. And he sees Harald's horse riding past him without a rider. He hears all sword fighting behind him. And then to escape two people, he takes the horse over a clay riverbed, and it gets caught and it drowns
And
and it
sinks and
dies.
drown
And he
with
cries, holding its neck.
how? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he holds its
Yeah. No.
neck and keeps crying. And then at last, he feels like a betrayer himself. Like there was no big betrayer, he himself is a betrayer. And he crawls to some nearby broken rocks for shelter. So, this was chapter 9.
So we're now going to be doing the chapter 10 summary. I don't think we need much ado. We'll just get into it immediately, right?
Please do, yeah.
Last we left off, we were with who had
Orphan.
just been waylaid by a bunch of disbanded Legion soldiers, and his horse died. So now we're with said disbanded Legion soldiers, following the immediate aftermath of the last scene. The attack was an unprepared, unqualified hot mess, and the blame is laid at the feet of Salan, whom we might have heard of before. He is the father of said eponymous Salan, and husband to
Is it?
Estella. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And he is also a captain in Year's Hand of Legion. So, a child, Orphandel, escaped them into the...
Okay. I just figured that out. Yeah, because it mentions that they had a son who
they have an
gave...
acolyte son.
Oh
yes.
my god.
Yes. Yeah. So they think that the child who escaped them into the hills will die sooner than later from starvation or the elements. And also, Hishtula is in residence. We know she's in Kurganas, and her Castellan is reportedly a dull idiot. Not quite the wording they used, but that's the gist. So, everything should be fine, right? Alas, it's not, because Grip, the old man who was with Orphantel, was once footman to Anamander himself, and Harald was also a veteran of the wars. They mauled the Legion pretty badly, and though Grip took a spear to the back, his body wasn't retrieved. Everyone in the group capable of understanding what that means is losing their marbles. RISP, second cousin of Honral and RPOV, musters a squad's worth of trackers to find Orphandel and Grip. If they make it to Korkanas, the Legion's boned. Yeah. Back over at Tularhold, Sukul and Kadu would witness the smoke rising from the burning hides that the caravan was carrying. She calls upon Ransept, the Hold Castellan, to take her and see the site with 15 houseblades and a fist of tracking dogs. Ransept, who is allegedly a 1,000-year-old Thais with a temper and a repeatedly smashed nose, allots her one houseblade, incidentally himself, and Ribs, a sickly, stupid dog constantly surprised by the smell of its own ass. They're going on foot as well, in spite of Sugal's clothing. So I should note here that usually we have different scenes, but this is basically all one scene or one setting that just goes back and forth. So 3 settings are basically the kill site, Tula Hold, and Orphandel in the hills. So in the meantime, then we're with Orphandel, who is hiding in a cave in the hills nearby. He's deathly scared. He's regretting his very existence. He's hypothermic, and he's probably not going to make it through the night. His many regrets lie chiefly with the horse, who he just witnessed his death, which is pretty traumatic, and Rennek, because he can't stomach himself being the betrayer in the stories, and he can't really find himself telling Rennek, "Oh yeah, I betrayed the horse." But this is nothing like the stories, and he can't stomach that either. Someone is approaching him in the cave, and fear floods through Orphantel, though the boy, on the one hand, is 5, and on the other hand, is too weak to do very much. Turns out it's Grip, stronger. But the old man is fairly wounded, and he's limping. Slowly, Grip moves the blanket. Slowly, Grip moves the boy to a shallow cave nearby, where they settle in. He gives Orphantel a blanket that is not his, and it's not the boy's either, and warms him up. Orphandel will probably make it, but Grip might not. The old man recounts his tale to Orphandel. Harald and him stood, but the other tried to run away, and they got down from the back. They mauled the troop quite badly. We already saw the aftermath of Grip doing, about 2 lobbed off heads and an eviscerated guy. But not quite as bad as Grip would have liked, because they can still come after the two of them. There's still enough. The old soldier instructs Orvindel for the future. If he doesn't make it through the night, if Grip doesn't make it, Orvindel has to make it to Dornamander at the soonest and let him know of the full details of what happened. If Grip does make it, well, he remembers each and every face of the soldiers that made it, and he'll make damn sure to meet their maker in due time. And the two of them settle down to sleep. As night descends, Ransom and Strugel set off with Ribs at the front to investigate the kill site. Ribs apparently has a tapeworm, which Ransom doesn't bother to cure because he lives longer. And if there's symbolism here, I don't know what it is. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's just.
It's just a tapeworm. Okay.
Yeah.
Just a dog. It's just a dog.
Sometimes the curtains are just blue.
Yeah, true. And the dog sets off to the hills to scout the trail. With the two of them alone, Sukul, but interrogates the kill. Within the lands of turns out that Ransom has had dealings with the deniers that are given shelter within the lands of Tula Hold. Said deniers often place road taxes on travelers. Not entirely unlike Lady Hish's tithe, but Sukul protests. The lands of Tula Hold have been granted to the lady by royal charter, so it's legal and necessary as she places tithes on travelers riding through her lands. Bandits extorting people at the roadside is neither.
Semantics? Can we just call this semantics?
So Ribs has returned to Silent Sukul, and Ransom takes the girl off to a side trail. As they walk, the interrogation continues. Lady Hish has made arrangements with the deniers. They have been trading for cheese, leathers, and, most importantly, information on individuals that cheat the tithe, or, more importantly, individuals that don't wish to be seen.
Yeah.
They arrive at the trail, and Ransom counsels silence. Ribs' new stance, which Sukul cannot for the life of her discern what the difference is from the previous one, tells him they're strangers in the hills. They're close to the keep, but that won't help them much if a soldier decides to give them smiling throats. Sukul pads onward in silence, and since she can't talk, she thinks. The whole thing is irritating, and nothing like what she had imagined. Do you see the parallel between her and Orvindel? There's a parallel.
Yeah.
Nothing like the stories. So she fights it hard to keep pace with Ransom, and her clothes ill fit the occasion, but above all, she dreads the fact that Orvindel might be dead somewhere in the hills, and all her promises would be for naught. Worse yet, if they'd found the boy, Hishtula herself could be in danger, they being the soldiers of the Legion, not these two. Ransom pulls her. Oh shit. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Ransom pulls her out of her trance. Riders are ahead, and Ribs is out scouting. Said riders are Risp and her troop scouting the kill site, looking for Grip's body. In the meantime, as is classic for the series by now, since Risp is riding, she's thinking.
Yeah.
The deniers that have lived among these hills no longer practice banditry. They've taken themselves up trading with the Hust forges, and so have landed on a new profitable venture, mining the hills for the blacksmiths. Risp, obviously, doesn't much like this prospect, since civil war is almost certainly having to Kurald Galain, and she doesn't want to be the one who plays the fool and act like nothing is happening. Ooh. Abyss knows Hunral would be the first instigator in order to ensure the civil war will be short.
But no, he said he's going to prevent civil war.
Yeah. For sure. She then ponders on the ramifications of said civil war. Urisander would be marched in the Garcanas, a marriage would be initiated, the Hust forges would be put under the control of the Legion, the state and church would assume full control of the military, and the Houseblades would be greatly reduced in number and capability of armament. Also, the Wardens and Porter Swords would be reformed and placed under Osiric's command.
And Risp thinks?
So, before I get into that, in all, in rather classic-ized fashion, Risp has some fairly interesting ideas. The manner in which Kurald Galain society is currently structured does indeed lead to divisiveness and plenty of what Haupt would call arguments in iron. But the manner in which she and the Legion could go forth implementing said reforms is off. Case in point being that most enemies of the Legion, House Blades, Wardens, Border Swords, the Hust, fucking everybody, would be purged. The nobility would be put to the sword, and there would be enforced meritocracy. The irony of this is killing me. On the basis of the skill and experience, regardless of one's purity of blood.
And
Risp also considers the possibility of burning Glimmer Fate to the ground, killing all the naked wolves, and facing the victor directly. And this, friends, is why Kurald Galain is so utterly boned. So, the troop happens upon an old campsite, an old denier campsite. And Risp isn't particularly happy with it because the place reeks of failure to her.
Does it come later where Risp thinks that she wants to be like the commander of the Wardens once it comes under Osiric's command?
Yeah. Okay. She wants to be like the commander of the Wardens, and she's going to reform
there's no
them
nepotism.
Too much eccentricity and shit. Yeah.
They want meritocracy, except that when it suits her. Just because
they want meritocracy,
cousin.
except that she's a lieutenant in the Legion because her cousin's a captain.
Yeah.
Obviously, but yeah, whatever. By the way, this comes up again, like throughout because Risp is very insecure about her capability of commanding. Yeah. She's not awful, not like Silan levels of awful.
I mean, nobody could be. Yeah.
Okay, true, but she's feeling pretty insecure about the whole thing.
She's young, isn't it? She says something like she missed the wars.
Yeah. Which says she's younger than Serena's. She's probably like 20.
Okay. You 30. Can keep track of the numbers. I'm not going to.
I don't know what the number is. I don't know how long ago it was.
So Steve doesn't track numbers, and I don't do that either.
Yeah. And if Risp gives you any like roulette parallels of two young
exactly, I was going to say roulette. Yeah, I was. Yeah, someone who missed the war.
Some things have never changed. It seems people being
It should be a common theme throughout history and throughout fiction, right? People who missed the correct era, who feel like they missed the correct age,
and they're being prejudiced because they have done nothing. Well, in fact, they could have done nothing.
Maybe
that's a wholly different conversation because Risp is a bit, full of herself. But whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the place, the old campsite which they happen upon, apparently reeks of failure to Risp because clearly the deniers had a choice in the matter. Clearly, they could have been better. Something about weakness being an inherent flaw, a disease.
Yeah.
You get you were not supposed to like.
Okay, relax. Yeah, go on.
So yeah, an old sergeant reigns in beside her, a veteran of the Jalek Wars, who is incidentally suffering
from frostbite. Does he have a name?
No, he's not given a name.
He's pretty good, but he doesn't get a name. Yeah.
He just gets the sergeant. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, again, I think the curtain is just blue. There is something to be said about like frostbite and having like stuffing his boots with grass, because it doesn't have. I don't know. Maybe the curtain is just blue again in this case. So if there's a symbol here, I'm not gonna be the one to decode it anyway. So the guy comes along and basically gives orders for her, which kind of irks her because again, insecurity. They ride off east towards the crag where Grape fell, and they find the second kill site where the caravan guards had fallen to defend the wagons, which were then set alight. The road is riddled with corpses, not quite recognizable amidst the blood and gore, whatever that says about war. And Risp dreads the thought that Grape may have escaped, which we know he has. If Silan had simply kept at school, there's a very good chance nothing would have come of it. Legion soldiers this far from the Nerd Sore wasn't a particularly common occurrence, it's true, but if Anamander wasn't already keenly aware of how overtly hostile the situation has become, well, he'd be an idiot, and Anamander isn't an idiot. Except he might be.
At best, they would have had like questions instead of like an all-out manhunt murder mystery thing. It would have just been, some mysterious soldiers were running. What happened? It would have ended at that.
Yeah. Should have. It didn't, but it should have. So, the sergeant finds the crag and makes an educated guess that Grape rolled over the cliffside, indicating that he was still alive and capable of doing so. He may have broken his neck or his legs, but nobody sought to confirm it in blood and chaos. Risp elects to head down the cliff, but orders a burial detail for the bodies, which is arguably more respect than any other legionnaire has accorded this lane. So, she is definitely born of nepotism. She is insecure, but she's not completely awful.
Yeah.
She's still pretty awful, though, so we're not going to feel bad if she dies. But not terrible.
Yeah.
So Ribs returns to Sukul and Ransopt, and the Castellan somehow, presumably, comprehends the number of riders, where they're going, and their status from the dog's wagging tail and the drooping left ear.
Drooping left ear.
Yeah. Sukul's full of his shit at this point. Doesn't say much, because what could you say to that? In the meantime, they get going again and enter an old abandoned house that's supposedly far older than Tula holds, about 5,000 years or so. Ransopt has been visiting here on occasion and has cleared a pathway to some underground area, which, despite the lack of trees, is filled with roots.
Can you just
Ransopt,
pause 1 second?
Yeah, sure. So, the underground area is full of roots. Ransopt, who is hunched to about half his height, enters, and though Ribs seems to fear this place, and not saying much, Sukul follows him within. The underground is pitch dark, and she has to find her way by feel. Eventually, she feels nothing, and she freezes in fear, and Ransop's advice to stop looking with her eyes. It's
And she
scandal.
says,
what should I feel with? What should I look with? My thumbs?
Yeah.
Turns out the place is filled to the brim with dog runner magic, and the deniers have blood of the dog runners within them. Sukul doesn't believe him. After all, these are ancestral Thais lands, and there were never any dog runners here. Clearly, Ransop's schooling is incomplete, through no fault of his own, of course. Classism, fun. But nothing that he says makes sense to Sukul. Ransopt then continues about the magic of the dog runners and why they were forced to flee after the forests were cut down. This here is a temple of the dog runners, and if Sukul would open her senses to it, she could witness it. Ribs is scared to bits because of the memories of the eye, which doesn't say much to Sukul. Yeah. Ransopt comes forth to take her hand, and they take a circuitous route around something. That something is apparently an altar, atop which sits a dog runner witch who's asleep.
Yeah. Her name is?
We'll get to that.
Oh.
He doesn't say the name immediately.
You might as well.
Okay, yeah.
We have
her name
finished
is Bern.
the chapter.
Her name is Bern in the name of the dog runners, the language of the dog runners. So, in order to see, the Castellan instructs Sukul to close her eyes and picture the landscape. Roots everywhere, wolf skulls placed in the walls, or more accurately, skulls, which are a mix between dog and really big dog.
It's like, I think, horse skull sized.
Yeah, it's like really big.
Yeah.
With an altar made of packed earth, decorated with semi-precious stones, as well as other trinkets. The witch has all but transformed into a tree, and is the source of the roots from which everything grows. Ransopt has injured the witch in his ignorance and feels deeply remorseful for this, especially as the roots don't seem to be healing. Sukul asks for the witch to be described, and the man after side goes on length, describing what essentially amounts to a tree. I mean, she's a tree.
Yeah.
A face of polished wood, covering what once was a fair-skinned face with heavy features, and if you're not catching on at this point, he'll, they're the eye mask.
Yeah.
Dog runners were never ones to dissemble, and they felt what seemingly was a wider range of emotions than the Thais, and much more strongly. And the Thais didn't like that, because of course they didn't. It is Ransop's belief this particular witch is the Dreamer, which could potentially be resisting Mother Dark, and he asks if Sukul is capable of seeing all that he has described. It turns out that, yes, indeed she does, but not all her thoughts are her own. They are within the dreams of this witch, and she, the witch, struggles to comprehend them.
Yeah.
As such, they're in a very real danger of losing themselves to the witch's thoughts, and so they must leave. Before that, however, Sukul has to make an offering to this witch, whose name in the language of the dog runners is Bern, the sleeping goddess that dreams the world into existence. But Ransopt warns her that such an offering would perforce bind Bern and Mother Dark in ways she cannot understand. This is the holiest place in the religion of the dog runners, yet they know it not. Sukul realizes this and asks Rancept why he brought her here. They could have gone another way. His response, that it's schooling is rubbish, which it is, elicits laughter from her, laughter that seems capable of healing the sleeping goddess, much to Rancept's utter astonishment and delight. The two of them leave, following Gribbs' footsteps out, and Rancept seems to be at his happiest. He openly admits to being a denier, though he hates that name, and for good reason.
Yeah.
And reveals to Sugul that Byrne dreams of a river. And I'm sure that doesn't mean anything, you know. But,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we know whatever he means.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Risp is searching for Grip's corpse as she descends the crevasse. Quickly, she realizes there will be no body awaiting her down there, and indeed, she finds a bootsteps limping away in a trail of blood, a broken leg, and a back wound, leading to another cliffside with a few obvious hand and leg holds. She climbs, which is only about 10 paces. She finds that she's about 30 paces away from the main troop. She returns to her troop and informs everybody of the situation. The bad news aren't actually over yet, though. Turns out, Grip wasn't here accidentally. He was placed here by an Amander to protect Orphantal, who is assigned to the Corlash family, under whom quite a few of Risp's troops served under, and that Scion is now being sent to Carcanas under Lord and Amander's protection, and he's alive. Risp knows she's fucked, but there's scant little to do now beyond tracking the boy.
Yeah.
The sergeant offers up another solution. Just put the blame on Salon and hang him as a common criminal. Put him and his entire troop to the sword out of necessity.
Yeah.
To clean the blood of the slain from their hands. At the end of the day, Salon did act of his own accord, and without orders, it could be justified somehow.
Yeah.
The sergeant gives Risp nothing, which pisses her off. Again, insecurity. So she elects to send news to Stalo to take care of the troop.
And also?
And sends another rider to Tula Hold to inform the lady of the slaughter and help with the cleanup efforts. Then they ride away.
Yeah.
We cut back to Rancept and Sugul, who are watching Risp make her arrangement. There's something problematic about the whole thing. Supposedly, or they supposed beforehand, that both the killers and these fellows are Legion, but they shouldn't be here. But the way these guys are acting makes it seem like they weren't party to the killing. So who killed the traitors?
Yeah.
And Rancept concludes that maybe Ribs would know.
Maybe what?
Maybe Ribs would know.
Yeah.
Sugul just is sick of his shit at this point. Just straight up asks him, like, are you a priest or are you a seer or something? He says that there's no such thing among the deniers, and the dog runners have bone casters, not priests as such. Again, if you don't see it, okay, they're Imas. They have witches and warlocks that allegedly gave the gift of soul taken to the Jalek.
That is so, casually just dropped, and it's nothing.
Oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah, it's the dog runners, the bone casters. They made the soul taken, and keep going. My God.
So the Legionnaires, in the meantime, were kind enough to bury the body to the slain, and Rancept actually paints a rather poetic picture of the whole thing, which surprises Sugul. The Castellan has more or less sworn to serve Hish until his dying breath, which, given his station, is actually rather heartbreaking. Sugul, him, and his dog, who is just a dog.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you wanted to say something?
No. He's just a dog, yeah.
He's just a dog, yeah.
And she even asked him, is it soul taken? And he says, even if it was soul taken, he's forgotten.
He forgot, yeah. So he's just a dog.
Yeah.
But my lady, he's my dog.
Yeah.
So, again, if there's some sort of symbolism with ribs being a really smart, I do not know what it is. Again,
maybe we'll figure out as we keep reading.
Maybe, but yeah, maybe the curtain's just blue.
Because chapter 9 had so much symbolism stuffed in it.
Yeah.
So chapter 10 was just being free.
Yeah, just a dog. Really, no, trust me, it's just a dog. Nothing more to it, believe me.
Yeah.
So yeah, the two of them make their way down to the killing grounds and know that the killers were indeed disciplined at first. Whatever they made of a poor sod, probably Harald, one imagines. seems to hint at a certain breach of discipline, i.e., they carried him off into pieces. The whole scene of viscera and entrails spilled and bodies everywhere is revolting to Sukul, but what's more revolting to her is Ransom's attitude towards the whole thing. There's a certain emptiness with regards to emotion, as one needs to be when faced with slaughter, and she just cannot accept that. She cannot accept that living beings can be abstracted to mere sacks containing bones and organs, even if she comprehends the necessity of such a picture.
I was going to look up, but I didn't have time. Like, there are some things like this in Catch 22 about how people have just like bags of blood or something. It's the more or less the same concept. I don't have the exact quote. I didn't look up, but I will look up probably before later. Yeah, go on.
So there is no grave for Orphanthal, which seems to imply that either the boy is still alive or he went down with his horse on the mudflat. The riders are just ahead, but Sukul advises Ransep to hide. Whether the sole rider heads to Tula Hold and finds nobody save for a dull gate sergeant, how would that look? They need to make sure, beyond reasonable doubt, that Orphanthal is still alive. Ransep then asks the question on everyone's mind: if the boy is that important, why did they send him along with a goddamn caravan guard?
Yeah.
In the meantime, for some reason, I'm not sure why, Sukul takes a moment to ask if Ransep's nose could be healed. It turns out that the guy has had his nose broken 6 times, which is absurd, and so he stopped trying to heal it before they realize that they're one grave short, which means someone else escaped the slaughter, but they're in no position to keep going, so Ransep suggests to send Ribs on to do what needs doing, because Ribs is his dog. And by now, Sukul has caught on, like, okay, it's your dog, whatever. So, the closing scene is a corporal in Eurosanders Legion named Renth, who is riding post-haste from Gurkhanas, following Hunral's orders regarding the troops stationed near the hills of Tula Hold. Renth is actually somewhat cognizant of Hunral's failings and contradictions. He is a nobleborn that seeks redress for his own line, while claiming that he wishes to elevate Lord Eurosander because of a desire for justice. Right. Of course. Sure.
And this guy has some plans and stuff.
We'll get to that, because there is some merit to actually go into Renth, because like this is like distilled taste essence of they have some really good ideas and they just fuck it up. Anyway. So Hunral's contradictions actually scare him, because he does as he's told out of a sense of duty and loyalty to Lord Eurosander. Hunral is issuing certain contradictory orders. Now, he says, more than ever, Eurosander was needed as a husband for Mother Dark, while he is also simultaneously ordering all units to desist. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Ral, to Renth, is hardly an inspiring figure. He's nigh permanently drunk. He's drunk. Did I mention he's drunk? No.
Yeah.
He's envious. He's spiteful. He's spitting venom constantly. And Renth only really feels compelled to do what he's told because Eurosander actually deserves better. And also because he's incredibly prejudiced against the deniers, whom he considers to be like not Taist at all.
Not Taist, yeah.
Their lack of faith in Mother Dark has allegedly stripped them of all of their protections, and they're little more than filth, marring the realm. And Lord Eurosander, who understands necessity, would cleanse the realm of them.
And if something happens to them, it's their own fault, right?
Of course, obviously. They should have just kept their faith in Mother Dark, no?
Yeah.
The Highborn were, alas, another matter, but he, as a soldier, well understood the meaning of necessity, and when the time came, he would do as he was told.
Yeah.
And now, he rode to the units in Tula Hold to command them to stand down, and after that, he would ride northward to set his hold on Scar's troop, presumably. Unless there's more Legion units which we don't know about in the meantime, but that's my guess. But, before any of that, he happens upon a young boy who is filthy and dirt-smeared, that identifies himself as Orphantel of House Corlas. Renth doubts it, and the insinuations that he would kill the child because he thinks it's a denier, and Renth is a dipshit, and you know what's gonna happen next. He says something like that. Kurald Galain is quicker, and he plunges a good few inches of cold steel into his heart.
Where does he
Renth
kill him?
dies. Yeah.
How does he kill him?
He plunges a knife into his, below his elbow, his armpit, into his heart. No.
From the back, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out. Yeah.
So yeah, Renth is dead, and his last thoughts being about the injustice of it all. Because who was this Kurald guy anyway? So Orphantel is positively mortified because of this, as he was thinking the two of them would have stolen, or borrowed more accurately, a horse after whaling somebody, and then eventually they would recompense them. Not this.
He's so sweet. He's so innocent. Yeah.
Grip essentially tells the kid to tug it up. And not only that, but he also goes on to defile the body of the corporal. He cuts his head off and then carves his initials on his forehead. Awesome. Grip mounts back onto the horse and they ride away, but Orphantel remarks that all the heroes are dead and we are all lost. And there's a very pretty, albeit very bleak image at the very end that the hand that took up Orphantel was red.
It's
and
so
the air
red.
was smelling of iron, and it's fucking, it's Erickson, just like.
Yeah.
Well, that was chapter 10.
Nice.
Both chapters start. Well, no, this one doesn't start, but both chapters end with Orphantel.
Yeah. Orphantel's
and the
descent.
next chapter starts with Azathanai.
Oh, is it? Okay.
In case that's meaningful. Because if you haven't watched it, which you should, Steve basically told us that Forge of Darkness is essentially the story of a young boy who is coming into his own, but he didn't specify which, because there's at least two of them.
He totally did.
He?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, I'm going to keep it in my head
Doesn't
canon
matter.
that he could mean both.
Like he could have. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to say, no, I did not mean Orphantel. He's not going to say that. You are orange. Okay. So are we done
I am.
with the summaries? I don't think we can do. We can stuff more. Do you have anything more to bring up? Because
No, not really. I mean, like I
something.
said earlier, like this chapter is very much like a one-note thing. Just we fucked up, and Grib is alive. Oh, by the
This
way,
is like
Burn's a
the-
thing, and like the Eye Master's all taken. Oh, but we fucked up, and Grib's still out there. And that's basically how the chapter goes for like 40 pages.
Yeah, this is like the whole relaxation chapter after chapter 9. So, shall we wind up?
Yep.
Thanks. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for watching or listening. And I have been Lee.
I'm Mora, and good night.
Good night. Can we